Welcome back to the Formation Lap with Todd and Brad. And Formula One fans, it's been quite a long time since we've been with you, but thank you so much. And we are finally back to some racing this weekend. We head to Miami around Hard Rock Stadium, and this is a race that hasn't been around for very long, but it's always an exciting race. So Formula One fans, once again, welcome back to the Formation Lap. Todd, we have not been ready for a race weekend since late March with Japan, of course,
Right.
with the ongoing stuff in the Middle East. 2 races canceled, so it gave these teams, these constructors, these drivers a long period off with all these new cars and new regulations. May not have been the worst thing, but Todd, I'll throw it over to you. What's your thoughts on what this month off means for everyone?
Yeah, Brad. I mean, it's crazy that we've had this long. I mean, it's almost like halftime, right?
Yeah.
But it's been a long halftime, and this is rare for the sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Outside of the end of the season,
Right.
and going there, and April showers bring May flowers is the saying, right? Well, we had no racing to get excited about May, so I'm really excited about this, and I think it's going to be something that we've got to look at, because there's a lot of items that we just still didn't know after all the races. The first 3 or 4 races, we had some practices, right? But we just don't know.
Right.
And then Miami is if you want to be aggressive, you can, but it will punish you for mistakes.
Absolutely.
And I don't know what's going on. So we've got a lot of things that's, exciting to talk about. And I know the drivers are excited, and we're going to talk about it in a minute. We might have a little weather that's going to play into this, and it's like, here we go on that. But Brad, I think it's exciting to be back. It's something that we've been waiting for.
Absolutely.
And I think it's going to be, we'll talk about it here in a minute. A great scene to see the adjustment, because at halftime you played football, I didn't. But when you went into the locker room, y'all went and made adjustments.
Yeah.
And you made adjustments. So I think that's what April has really been about. What do you think about all this?
Yeah, to me, it's been a little bit like, okay, those first 3 races were just kind of preseason, and because we're what with the 2 eliminated races, we've got still 20 more to go. We've got Miami here this weekend, which is the main race we're talking about. We got Canada in a couple weeks. And then we're about to get into that flow of the summer of all the races in Europe. So it's going to be exciting. Once again, I think the drivers and the teams, I think they would have loved to have those extra laps, that extra data on track. But I think it's allowed them to work on some things, to say, hey, what did we do wrong in Melbourne and China and Japan? What can we improve on? Todd, there's going to be a lot of teams running upgrades this week. I think that's going to be a good point. I think you're going to see I still think Mercedes is the favorite, but I think that gap is going to lessen. So, Todd, one unique thing, as you mentioned it, if you followed F1 for any matter of time, these breaks like this are unprecedented. We always have a summer break, and a big difference is that the teams are not allowed to do anything.
Right.
They have to truly, they go on vacation or holiday. They're not allowed to be in the facilities. This is different. The FIA said, hey, y'all can be in there. You can get development. Drivers can do tests in the simulators. A couple of teams did some Pirelli tire tests to help them better understand how the tires work on these cars. So I'm really excited. Like, it almost feels like the 2026 season is starting over again.
Yeah.
But once again, it's throw in that Miami. I think you put it perfectly. Miami is a track that you can be really aggressive. It may punish you, and then this whole factor, which we're going to get into later on as we do our weekend preview. There's going to be potentially some weather on Sunday during the race, so throw that into everything. It's going to be a crazy weekend.
It is, and Brad, I think, as you said, the development, that's what these guys have gone and done.
Yeah.
And like you said, preseason. Now that I played against a few of my competitors, now I'm going to go really develop.
Yeah.
Not only the cars, but the skills.
Yeah.
And I think that is going to be key. That when does that ever happen before?
Right.
They do it sometimes when they get a 2-week break, but this was a whole month, and they just didn't sit around. And I think it's going to allow, as you said, the upgrades. Mercedes, if you read some of the reports and things, they're a little scared now because
Absolutely.
we've got probably 4 or 5 teams that could show up right next to them. You
Yep.
know, and they were hoping that would happen later in the year.
Right.
And that's the thing. And then the FIA made some adjustments also, which I think were smart.
Absolutely.
And maybe maybe they would have done it in between, but having this break, I think they took the right steps to make those adjustments, because we saw some scary things. And
Absolutely.
and we had a lot of fans and a lot of racers that were saying F1 has just lost its edge, and so I think the FIA heard that, but also looked at safety. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you made a really good point that we knew that some changes were coming, but obviously 2 factors. The one is this long break. It really allowed the FIA and F1 officials to get together and said, "Hey, we need to tweak some things. We need to allow these drivers to get back to, it's not just harvesting, it's not just charging the battery. We need to allow them to get back to feeling out the car and everything." But also the big second point that spurred these changes was Ollie in that huge wreck in Japan, where I believe, was it Bortoletto or Bortoletto in front of him? He was recharging. Ollie was on a push, and Ollie couldn't control the car. And I mean, we saw Ollie was limping, and I think it scared a lot of drivers. I think it scared a lot of the team principals and it scared these teams. But also, it's like the FIA recognized, hey, we've got an issue on our hands. We've got to take this 5-6 weeks break, and we've got to rein these cars in a little bit. I think it's a good move. Do I think they're still perfect yet? No, I don't. And we're maybe later on in an episode we can talk a little bit more about the technical stuff. But I think it was a good change. Excuse me. I think it was a change that's needed. But Todd, we always see when something scary like that happens, change has got to happen, and I credit the FIA for doing that.
Yeah, they did, and they took the advantage, Brad, of it, and hats off to them, because it wasn't if it was going to happen, it was when.
Exactly.
And we saw a couple of times in the earlier races, Melbourne and China, it was like, whoa.
Close calls, but it didn't happen.
It didn't happen, and when it happened in Japan, it was like, so, I think that's great. A lot of people took they didn't take a break.
Right.
They went back to the drawing board on some things.
Right.
We're going to see that. So, Brad, who do you think comes out of this break the best?
This is fascinating. I mean, this is going to be a biased take, which that's fine. I think our 2 teams are looking really good. Yeah. Ferrari and McLaren, I'm really, really excited. Todd, I think the team that I have the most, I think intrigues me the most is Red Bull. Red Bull has not had the pace. Yeah. Quite honestly, Isaac has had a little bit more pace than Max has. What you're saying, Max is a 3-time world champion. My apologies, 4-time world champion. Thank you, 4-time world champion. Max has been frustrated with this car. He's hated it. I mean, we've heard there's been all these rumors circulating that Max is on his way out of F1 because he doesn't like the cars. We've seen him get into other series, which he's always done, but that's gotten more publicity.
I've watched a few. I'm like, wow, I don't remember watching
Right, and more press. But Red Bull is a team that fascinates me. To me, if Red Bull is not, and I don't think this Miami race, Todd, is the end-all be-all, but to me, if they're not competitive, especially after having that, quote-unquote month, just, I won't say off, but away from the track, if they're not competitive, they're in for a long season. But I think our 2 teams in Ferrari and McLaren, that's the 2 that I'm really, really watching closely. And I know we've both read the articles, if they come with the upgrades that it sounds like they have, we've got to, I mean, I don't know that anyone's going to catch Mercedes, but our 2 teams are going to really challenge.
Yeah.
Going to really, really challenge.
I agree, Brad.
I think Haas is right there, and I think Alpine's right there. Maybe, I think they are fighting for the best of the rest. Like I said, though, Red Bull, they got to find something. And my last point before I turn it back over to you, I'm really curious what Aston Martin does. Aston Martin has had no pace. They've brought in tons of experience. Fernando, a world champion driver. They've had no pace, though, and Lawrence Stroll, the owner of that Aston Martin team, is frustrated. I'm curious to see if they've drawn a little bit out of that car in this month off. They're one I'm going to be watching closely.
Me too, and Aston, they're flying in the wind right now, and they don't know what to do, and I can't even explain it because it's like what. But and I'm with you. I think Haas and Alpine are going to do it, but Ferrari and McLaren, they've been tweaking it already. So this, I think, is going to give them a lot.
Absolutely.
McLaren have a Mercedes engine, is trying to figure it out. Mercedes not giving all the information, but Ferrari now has said, we're going to figure out how to do it on the straights. And,
right.
And, it's interesting because in Red Bull, Max's engineer just got announced that they're moving to McLaren in 2028. Right. So what is going on? Yeah. And so, I think the break has given a lot of people to reflect, and there's some reaction, and it's depending upon how they're going to manage it, right? Did they react? Did they reflect? Did they do it? So, as we go into it, Brad, we got a couple layers that's about ready to happen too in Miami, and I think I'll change the screen here.
Yeah.
We're extending, 90 minutes?
Yeah. So obviously, a practice session is 60 minutes, but due to the long break and due to the regulation changes, 90 minutes. I think that's a good point. On top of that is there's only one practice session this weekend because it's a sprint weekend.
Right.
Sprint weekend. So of course, as you know, if you're a fan, when there's a sprint weekend, you have one practice and then you immediately go into sprint qualifying. So
right.
I think this is a good move. Todd, tell us a little bit about this course. We can see that tire management is going to be key because of the heat, but also there's some heavy braking zones in this track as well.
Yeah, there is, and it's like a street course in a way. It's around the stadium, and they're going to be flipping this thing over for the World Cup here soon too.
Absolutely.
So it's like, wow, what's going on? But there's a couple of turns here, 11 and 16. Are really critical. One of them is under, I didn't realize this, is under the overpass of the Florida Turnpike entrance. And they have a restriction that you cannot go faster than, whatever. And so they're used to flying through the curves.
Right.
Now they have to stop. And I always wondered that. Now that I've read a little more, I think the tire management is going to be it. With the weather on Sunday with potential rain, who knows? We haven't seen that yet, right? But the tire could be what causes a win or a lose,
right?
Here, and the heat. I think it's going to be one of those weekends that we're going to see hot, rain, and dry all in the same weekend.
So I'm glad you brought that in because this, like I said, this race has not been around for very long, but South Florida, it's going to be hot, it's going to be humid. And we know what that does to the tire. So you brought up a good point. What we see in the only practice session, sprint qualifying, sprint race, then qualifying, those are going to be interesting. Todd, we get into Sunday, and of course, if you've been watching and reading some stuff leading up to this race, we know there's some predicted thunderstorms in the area. Yeah. Now, I know me and you were kind of talking last night, and before we started the show here. I'm of the opinion, I definitely think they're not going to want to, the FIA and F1's not going to want to cancel.
No.
I personally think, here in the States, it is slated for a 4 p.m. start. I think it's going to be pushed up to 12 or 1. That's my opinion. I think, if you look at and we're not weathermen, but if you look at the weather reports, that is where there's not as much thunderstorms in the area. It's more of that rain. So I personally think, Todd, I think it's going to be pushed up. But another factor is we have not seen these cars on wet tires yet, which throws this thing into a whole nother.
Exactly.
I don't know how much practice these guys have had. Luckily, Melbourne, Japan, and China, they were. I had those out of order. Melbourne, China, and Japan. It was clean. There was not a need for intermediate and wet tires. But you throw this in, and oh man, we may have mass chaos.
So we got sprint.
Right.
We've got one practice. We've got weather. We got chaos. We've got tires. It's going to be something.
Who knows what's going to happen?
That's crazy. And I think the strategy is going to win this race.
Yes. Good point.
And they've had 5 weeks to build their strategy.
Right.
I think that's what's going to really, because we got new rules that have been changed. So they got new rules when you think about it. The drivers are excited, but they are only going to get 90 minutes to test it, really.
Yeah.
Did you get your car set up right? Okay, well, I'm going to go do the sprint qualifying, do the sprint, and then qualify. Am I going to get the car set up right while the weather's changing, the tires? I'm with you, Brad. I think it's going to be exciting, but it's going to be challenging.
And too, just with having that one practice, it's not like you can throw on those tires with a dry course because it won't run. You're not gonna get correct data. So these guys are truly going into this potentially a wet race on Sunday. They're going into it blind with no data. They don't know how the performance of the cars are going to be because they just haven't done it. So that's going to be to me where you've got to have a lot of faith in your skills and a lot of faith in your car to know when to push, know when to back off. And if we do have the weather that they're predicting on Sunday, it's gonna be chaos, but it's gonna be a really entertaining race.
And Brad, for the folks, they run in rain. We see
absolutely.
It's the lightning.
It's the lightning, correct?
That they're really concerned about. In Miami, I used to work down there, and those things come, and wow, you're like, because you're right next to the ocean. There's an ocean not far, in the Gulf, so there's a lot of energy in those storms, and that's what the FIA is concerned about. And pushing it up or back would work out well, but that's, if I'm a driver, I'm ready to go test this out. I'm ready to go drive at my, extreme level on a course that I'm excited about. And on that, we've got the course here on the back. It goes around the stadium. It goes, a long straight. Your guys have won it the last 2 times.
Yep.
Lando came. That was his
Lando's first
win.
win. It was awesome.
Oscar last year,
Oscar, yeah.
And I think Ferrari and McLaren and Mercedes are really going to go out, but they've got folks that are going to be right on their tail, trying to take them over with all this, but the chaos and involved. So,
Todd, one person that I'm interested to see react to all this is Kimi. Obviously, he's the world championship leader. He is
19 years
old. He's looked so good, but with this long break, with these new cars, and with the potential weather we have Sunday, and Kimi's got a target on his back now, right? How does he react? He got the sprint pole last year in Miami, and he didn't have a good start. And
and the old guys are going to be after.
They're going to be after. And look, we've seen Lewis is super confident in wet tires.
Yeah.
We know Max is a different animal when those wet tires come out. So there's some guys. There's some guys that Todd, when it's crazy conditions like this, the gloves are always off for F1 drivers. The gloves even come off more because some guys just really go for it and push it.
And I think you're right. I think Kimi is on a high, and he would have loved to keep racing.
Yes.
Versus stopping.
Yep.
Anybody in sports where that momentum gets you going, and that was one of the pieces here too. Is we get rusty in this.
Absolutely, that's a great point.
Now the good point is in April they've had the ability to get in stimulators and things, so they haven't got quote. But if I was Kimi, I'd be wanting to just go.
Absolutely.
And I think you're right. He's going to come out and continue to show himself.
Yep.
And this course will punish you if you're not careful. If you're just not thinking ahead, that next turn or curve, or you see someone ready for overtake. All that. And you're right. I think Kimi's going to be, and the other rookie, Limblad.
Yeah.
Arvid. Yeah. Arvid. He's going to be somebody I think that wants to push it too because he's been right on the edge.
Yes.
And he's had some struggles, a couple of mishaps, not on his fault, but I think you're exactly right. Yeah. So, the course is here. It's exciting. One day we'll get down there. We had a buddy of ours go, and he enjoyed it. But so let's preview the week. Weekend. What do you see coming?
I think. Obviously, it's going to be. I think it's going to be chaos. It's going to be interesting to me how these guys once again, with the potential for the weather, Todd. There's so much unknowns. They just can't really, to me, get a good feel for race conditions because it's just going to be crazy. I think you're really going to see everyone in the 90-minute practice session. They're going to really push to get just as many laps in and much data as they can. I'm really, really curious. I think I'm interested to see what it looks like in the sprint because throughout it, these guys, even a point or two is critical. So that's just my kind of quick thoughts. I think it's going to be a really interesting weekend. I'm excited to have racing back. I do think we're going to have a race, but there's still just that little bit of doubt in my mind that, hey, weather may be so bad we don't get a race.
Yeah, and they might, Brad, just lay it out for sprint, right? And qualify and say, okay, that might be my only chance.
That's right.
And, with Pirelli, they did some tests
Yep.
over the break too, and had
Yep.
some of the drivers get in and do it. You know, they like to set the course up because in sprint you have to use certain, you know, tires,
Right.
and then you got to use those qualified. But in the race, so there's some requirements that have they really tested everything in your opinion?
Probably not.
And oh, by the way, the FIA has been changing some of the rules since they started, and now that, you know, what's your thoughts on the tire management, because it's the strategy, pit stops, but
Yeah.
that tire.
I mean,
management.
I still think they're learning. I still, you know, and once again, this is traditionally one of the hotter races that we have. So therefore, the tires are going to wear much quicker. You know, also this is, and I know you mentioned this. This is not a permanent circuit. It's a street course around a football stadium.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, Formula One's done a great job getting that surface ready, but you always worry about, you know, tires just getting chewed up at some point. So there's a lot of unknowns with that, I feel.
Yeah,
like.
and Brad, I think we taught tire management in the last couple of races, but we really didn't see it.
Right.
You know, and because they were trying to control their battery and charge it, and we said, oh, it's gonna, and we never really saw that come out.
Yeah.
And there was one, you know, Oscar would have, I think, won the last race if the pit stop. you know, and it wasn't about tires. It was, you know,
it was timing. It's when the crash happened and when the safety car came.
But we thought it was going to be tire management,
right?
And strategy, and it ended up not being. Right. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah. All right, Todd. Let's move on. Yep. Red versus Papaya. What are you expecting out of your Ferrari team this weekend?
So as we talked about earlier, in just a minute ago, I think Ferrari has been on the edge.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to figure out that engine to give them the power in the straights. That's where they've been losing. They've been quick in the corners, in the curves. They're frustrating the Mercedes, but then Mercedes says, "Okay, I'll just wait."
Exactly.
Because I'll get them in the straights, you know, and I think that's where Ferrari hopefully has done it. Now, some of the other teams have figured out too the start.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see maybe a different start where Ferrari had that figured out, but I think they've been really focusing in on that. Lewis and Charles have been excited about this car, and so, man, can you imagine for the last 4 weeks they went back in and said, yes, do this, do that, do that. And I think they're going to be trendsetters in this, because both of them are experienced in this circuit, and they know their car, and it's just managing the tires. So I think Ferrari is going to do a great job. We'll see a lot of it on Saturday,
right?
Because by Saturday you'll see what they really are doing. I think they're going to bring a little more punch in those straights, and then, you know, we'll see how they handle it in the curve. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch a few of the races. Charles and Lewis keep passing each other.
It's incredible. It's been great.
So that shows me that they're comfortable with the car. If they can just get that straight away. Right. The start was to say, if I can get out ahead of you,
right.
See if you can catch me. So, you know, I think that's where Ferrari's going to come in. So, you know, McLaren, Papaya guys, what do you think?
Really excited, you know, finally, and you know, I don't want to harp on this too much. Oscar was finally able to run a race in Japan. He's, you know, crashed out in Melbourne. Both him and Lando had issues in China, so Oscar finally was able to run a race, and beautiful start. He led for 16, 17, 18 laps. Of course, unfortunate safety car timing, but he finished second. I think Oscar's had more pace. I'm excited for what Lando can do. This is a course Lando's really good at. This was his first career win.
That's right.
I mean, both of them. I mean, Oscar's looked really, really good here too. I think one of them's going to be on the podium. I'm going to say both of them have a chance to be top five. I'm going to be disappointed if one of them, as far as the race goes, if one of them is down anywhere from 7th to 10th. I think the upgrades that McLaren is bringing, I think we've got the pace. It was just really kind of figuring out, okay, what does this Mercedes engine, what is it truly about? Hopefully they were able to drain some of that information out of Mercedes. But I'm excited. I really, though, and just to reiterate this point, I really want to see Lando. I think Lando's been a step behind Oscar, even though Oscar's only finished one race. I think Lando's been a little bit of a step behind. And I think this month off has done Lando some good. It's given him some time to obviously get a better feel. Clear his head. He's had a lot of pressure and expectations coming as the defending, drivers world champion. So it's given both these guys just some time to reset. I think one of them's on for a podium though.
Yeah, and Brad, if you watch our first couple of seconds, Brad was not excited about.
No, I am that. Honestly, I am that. Once again, Oscar showed so much pace, and I know this is a biased take, Todd. I really think if the Ollie accident hadn't happened, I think Oscar could have been on for a win, and that really, I mean, that excited me. I mean, the start was just unbelievable, and I'm a fan of both of these guys. They're both my guys. Oscar's just got that killer instinct. I mean, Lando does, but I mean, Oscar's not playing around when he gets inside the car, and I'm excited. I am really, really optimistic to where I still think Mercedes is the favorites, but I think it's going to be our two teams battling out for second place the rest of the year.
Yeah, and I think they're going to squeak out, a couple of wins.
I agree with that too.
I think it's going to push the envelope.
Absolutely.
Miami could be that turning point.
That's right.
On that.
That's right. Todd, let's get into it. I'm going to start off with you. Your predictions for the sprint race on the podium.
So sprint, I think, as we've been talking, I think Kimi will still pull it off.
Okay.
And I think it's because it's a sprint.
Okay.
I think 20 laps?
Somewhere along in there.
I think he still is going to go out and push it and say, okay, good. I still got it.
Yeah.
Now the race, I think, is going to be a little different. I think either Lando or Oscar will show up second because they've been pushing it.
Yeah.
And then I think Charles is going to push out
George.
Okay. I do. And I think Lewis is just there. I think Charles is just that methodical.
Yeah.
And I think that will be my three. So what do you think?
I like it. I'm gonna start in third. In third, I'm gonna take one of my guys, either Oscar or Lando. I'm gonna take Charles in second as well, and I'm gonna go Kimi. Kimi's just I'm with you. It's a sprint. He's shown the most pace right now. These are the normal conditions, right? Yes. So that's mine. That's mine. Right. All right, let's get into it. Sunday, super excited as of right now. 4:00 Eastern time start here in the United States.
Yay.
Finally we're back to some racing. We're both super excited. Wherever you're at, encourage you to watch it. Just want to do a quick shout out here. If you don't have Apple TV, there's going to be more platforms to watch this on. They want to grow their viewership for this weekend. So encourage you to watch it. Todd, who's on your podium for the race on Sunday?
All right, your guy, Oscar, I'm going to put number one.
Ooh, okay.
So I think he's going to pull it off after last week. I think Kimi will be either second or third. He will still figure it out, but he won't be able to push it.
Yeah.
Because of the strategy. And then I'm bringing Charles. So it's the same guy.
I love it.
But I think that's where we're
okay.
Go. What's yours?
I'm going 3. I'm going George Russell. It's the wet conditions. Kimi is great, but it's the wet conditions for me that we could see him possibly make a few mistakes. Possibly get caught up into some of the track conditions. Yeah. I'm going to go George at third. I'm going to go Oscar in second. I'm going Charles Leclerc in first.
Right.
I think I'm Todd. As excited as I am to watch McLaren, I'm excited to watch Ferrari this weekend. I think they have, from what I've read, they've done an incredible job with the upgrades. Lewis has struggled at this track in Miami, and Charles has been comfortable here. And I think you also throw in that it's going to be wet and chaos. I think this is the race that a team not named Mercedes gets a win here in 2026.
Yeah, I agree. So before we close, is there anybody going to sneak into the points, in your opinion?
This may not be too far off. I'm gonna take Liam Lawson from Racing Bulls.
Okay.
They've shown some good pace to me. I'm excited to see it. That's my surprise points finish. What about you?
Lindblad, the other guy on the
team. I like that. That team
they're
is
right at the bottom, and they're so close.
That team is really encouraging. I know we've both at different points, in some earlier episodes have shown Pierre Gasly. I feel like that's cheating a little bit because he's shown some legit pace. Yes. And so anyway, I like the pick. All right. Thank y'all so much for joining us here on the Formation Lap. We are super excited to be back, and please stay tuned with us. We've got some content coming this month off. Has given us the chance to figure out all the technical stuff and everything. So we are super excited. Please continue to give us a like on this video and future videos. Comment and please hit that subscribe button. We got some more content coming for you, and we're going to do a better job of pushing content out during the off weeks. Of course, we're going to have a little bit of a break before Canada in a couple weeks, and then May and June there's going to be just a week or two time off. So please continue to share your feedback with us about what's going on in F1. But we just thank you so much for watching the formation lap here. Just a couple of regular guys talking elite racing. Enjoy the Miami race, and we will see you next time.